Welcome to the in-depth review of Sonic Forces. Sit back, relax, grab some food and grab a drink if you like to, and let's get into this. Sonic Forces is a very polarizing game. It's a very mixed game in terms of reception. Some may arguably say the game isn't bad, but there are many reasons why many think this game isn't all that great. Now, there are many people who I personally think over-exaggerate this game, whether it being terrible or amazing, or even on par of generations. Can this all objectively be apparent? Let's eviscerate this right now. Let's start off with the story. Sonic Forces has more of a story this time around than most Sonic games, and I'll let my boy Bluekokirii take it from here.
Sonic Forces comes packaged with a story this time around. Now, if you guys do not want to hear spoilers, go to the estimated timestamp on the screen. But with that being said, let's get back into it. I don't mean something so simple as Sonic randomly going to space or randomly getting sucked inside a black hole. In this game, it's nothing of the sort. Unlike previous Sonic games though, this game has a prologue that leads into the main story, with the prologue starting off with our edgelord, well, not anymore, Shadow the Hedgehog being called on a mission to support Omega. Due to Omega's abrupt actions, even being told to relax by Rouge and wait for Shadow to get there, he soon is noticed. Since at the time, Infinite has found out about his new abilities, so now it was time to test him on Omega, which led Omega to become unresponsive to Rouge, which has Rouge and Shadow puzzled. Later on, Shadow catches up with whatever damaged Omega, which turns out to be Infinite. Infinite then reminds Shadow who he really was. Ending off the confrontation, Infinite uses his new power on Shadow, which sends him to a virtual reality world. Shadow comes back to his senses, later finding out Sonic needs help in the city. That there, my dudes, leads into the main story of Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces' main plot has a lot of smaller dialogue sections in the menus. Most of the time they're important, but for the smaller amount is usually them making jokes. Now there are some weird plot holes that I'm going to get into later. But let's get back on track. Sonic has been defeated and has been captive for 6 months by Eggman. During that time, Tails has left his friends, which leaves Knuckles, Silver, and Espio leading the Resistance to defend themselves. Also, did I forget to mention, a big egg has taken over the world. During that time, the Resistance has found a new recruit who was saved from the leftovers from the city. That new recruit is you. Your original character, Do Not Steal. As you are introduced, you are forced to go on a mission that someone new should totally be doing. You are sent to the Death Egg to save Sonic because the Resistance magically finds out Sonic is revealed to be alive and soon to be sent off into space. So we are sent there to help save Sonic. While the Avatar is on their way there, Zavik tells Sonic it's time to be sent off, which leads into the fight between Sonic and Zavik.
The story pretty much takes off from there. We're not going to spoil the whole story for you, but that's the gist of, the beginning of the story that launches into the game. And what we thought of it was pretty decent. But the thing with the story is like the plot holes that were mentioned before, the pacing of the story was really weird. And specifically, they used the usage of black screens with text filling in gaps when we could have had a whole cutscene or maybe 4 explaining these situations that were showed to us on this black screen with text.
As I stated before, this game comes with a decent story, better than what we've previously seen from recent Sonic, but there is some plot holes and some things that they should work on. For example, they had no clue where Sonic was, but didn't Tails just watch Infinite beat up Sonic? Also, why was Tails in the city for 6 months? So let me explain that. After Tails watched Sonic get beat up, the game tells us 6 months has passed since the incident. But when we see Tails again, he's in the same spot in the city messing around with Omega. What? Also, why is Classic Sonic there? What purpose does he serve in the game? Nothing! Also, where does the Phantom Ruby come from? This is something the game doesn't answer. It's something they don't know where they want to go with it. The Phantom Ruby went through a portal with the Mania Sonic, which you can see by the end of Sonic Mania, but it ended up in modern Sonic Dimension first, then later on Classic Sonic came? Because it magically landed near Arsenal Cave where Eggman found it. Yes, I know, this is a Sonic game, but let's not forget they showcased this game to have a deep and meaningful story. So at least they should make some sense with it. Also, why did it take Shadow 6 months to get to Sunset Heights? Remember earlier where I said Shadow found out Sonic needs help in their city? Well, also, don't forget I said this happened before Sonic was captured. So why did it take Shadow 6 months to get to the city? I personally feel like to completely know more about the game's plot, you have to research online. For some reason, it wasn't included where the Phantom Ruby came from within the game. I had to read it up online. Then the game doesn't even know where it wants to go with the plot, having a useless character come out of nowhere. If you are trying to have a deep and big story, make sure you explain things within the game. The Phantom Ruby is a huge thing in this game, so why not explain it? I will have to give the story a 7. It wasn't bad, but there is so much more they can do if they explain more. I shouldn't have to Google online. Where does the Phantom Ruby come from? Why was Infinite Eggman's base? Why is Infinite working with Eggman? That's why I'm giving it a 7.
That's how we pretty much feel about the story. Now, there's another section that we need to cover. I'm gonna need somebody who really knows what they're talking about. You know what? I know just who to hit up.
Yo, what's good everybody out there on YouTube? This is your man Shadicstick dropping some hot frog on this mic. And thank you Jaden2602 for allowing me to be on this review. I really appreciate it. I'll be splitting my portion of the review into the 3 gameplay style, 4 if you count the tag team, and discussing the physics, controls, and level design of each style's respective gameplay and stages. Alright, let's start off with modern. To put it simply, modern in this game is like modern in the other Boost games. In comparison, it's the same but different at the same time. His basic controls are the same as previous entries for the most part. Hold a button to boost, run forward by holding forward, etc. He has his 2D sections along with the 3D sections and the camera changes. It's really nothing extremely new. He controls, for the most part, the same. As in previous entries, his main feature is the boost, and in this game it is extremely fast. I would put it above Generations. The only other boost the game that even rivals this type of boost speed is Unleashed, and that's mostly because you can upgrade it to reach this level or surpass it maybe. When you use the boost in the air, Sonic essentially flies across the screen with a massive air dash. When I say this man flies, he flies. The game, however, has no drift, which for the most part isn't needed in this game, but still, there are sections of the game where I feel like the drift would have been better for controlling Sonic in a 3D plane. Now, I do have to say this, the physics are extremely different from the previous Boost Sonic game. Sonic has a lot more weight. He's less floaty and he feels less loose, and instead he feels more stiff. Now, in some aspects this can be seen as better as he's less loose in the air, but at the same time in the air he's also more stiff. So what winds up happening is you do have to have momentum to go somewhere with his jump. Sections which require really precise 2D platforming suffer from this because Sonic isn't able to really maneuver in the air unless he has already had momentum, and he can't really go backwards, he can only stop his momentum. While modern at times can suffer from this newfound weight, overall he's really fun. Many of the stages have things in them that are fun, and it's just some stages that are shorter that really hinder the experience. I love this game, but overall Modern Sonic suffers from having too many short stages. However, like I said, the ones that are longer and you know they're really fun, and the short stages are fun, it's just that your fun gets cut short. Alright, let's talk about Classic Sonic. I really do not know how to open this portion up. Essentially, Classic Sonic has been butchered. He's been neutered, my guys. Without going too far off topic, many people are opposed to Classic's inclusion for the reason of nostalgia pandering. I didn't like the fact that he was in the game or that they reused him, but ultimately I didn't really care because I personally prefer 2D Sonic anyways. He works better in 2D fundamentally. But boy, when I played Classic Sonic, I was in for a world of hurt, man. Classic Sonic, I feel like, is where the people who have a lot of disdain for Sonic Forces get their disdain. While the other two styles are fun and enjoyable, this one is not. It's torture. Classic Sonic controls like reverse generations. He basically feels like Thomas the Tank Engine taking his retarded 300-pound dog on a walk uphill. It is truly abysmal. While it's nice that drop dash was added, it doesn't make up for the lack of speed and momentum that Classic has. There are times where Classic Sonic cannot go up a small slope at maximum speed because of how slow they made him. If he hits something in midair, he basically drops straight to the ground or drops straight into whatever pit you're in, and you have to restart whatever you were doing all over again. On top of that, the Classic Sonic stages are not at all designed around his speed, but rather a mishmash of disorienting challenges for the player. I do have to say that I'm glad he's limited to only about 5 or 6 stages in total, period, across the game. 2 of the stages were somewhat enjoyable, but that's mostly because he was limited to a boss fight, or the stage was actually centered around his physics. I do have to say this: if he was just all boss battles, Classic Sonic would actually work. He would be really fun to play, but because he's not all boss battles, or because they did not build the stages around his physics, he's not fun at all to play. Like, legitimately a patch could fit Classic Sonic, but it's so disappointing going in and feeling Classic Sonic, and this is the part of the game they butchered. I'd rather them have butchered the avatar than this. Really, how do you make up for butchering the one thing that is supposed to inherently be good? Alright, now let's talk about what many, including myself, consider to be the best part of this game: the custom character. Original character, do not steal! Now, to move on from overbeaten memes, the custom character in Sonic Forces has to be one of the greatest things to ever come to the series. The character is highly customizable, has a good amount of options for combat at their disposal while maintaining a decent amount of speed, and feels great to use and control. The character plays like modern Sonic, but with a little more freedom. The character gets fast, but not as fast, and the game does a good job of making sure that every Wisp spawn feels unique and has its various advantages and disadvantages. For example, Burst is a flamethrower, Lightning is a wisp, and Drill's what the name says, a drill. And this drill thrusts you so far in the game that the speed is faster than the boost. But then again, you can't stop it, and wherever you land, you drop straight down. So you better hope there's not any pits where you're landing. Along with these Wisp spawns come the Wisp abilities that are inherent to the Wisp spawns replicate. Every Wisp spawn has some type of ability that helps you traverse through the stage faster and take out enemies in a quick, cool, and timely fashion. The custom character stages are also the best, along with their music, but someone else is covering that. And I genuinely think these stages show off how many variable paths can take this. I honestly think these stages show off how many paths you have with the created character in this game and the amount of replayability it adds. This is especially true because there are collectibles that you can only get with certain Wisp spawns. And while you may see that as an annoyance, it's not really an annoyance. A lot of them are placed in places where it's just either generally harder to get with certain Wisp spawns, or just it's considerably easier to get it with a certain Wisp spawn. Now, I wanted to add this into the OC portion, but the tag team stages are phenomenal. I gotta say that. While not all of them are something over the top, it's just really fun to play with. It's just really fun to play these stages. Now, these stages just basically control like a combination of, you know, modern Sonic and, you know, the creator character's controls, which is, it's not anything over the top. You know, you use R2 to use your attack button, and you just do the basic boost stuff with modern Sonic, and the homing attack slash the little zip line thing is, you know, double tapping X. It's nothing new, but it does add the double boost, and the double boost is really something that's cinematic rather than gameplay heavy. You're just able to basically boost through everything in the stage with both of the characters by rapidly pressing whatever button comes up on the screen. But it does give you this cinematic feel that I think Forces was going for in the end. To wrap up this section, I just want to say this: while Classic was the biggest letdown of this game, the other two gameplay styles are so fun that you really glance over it, because once you've gone back and gotten the stuff for Classic Sonic, you don't look at it anymore. It doesn't exist. Vamos, capiche? I genuinely think you'll have the most fun playing the classic characters. If you haven't bought Forces, I'm not gonna say to go rush out and get it for $40, but you know, if you have the money and you feel like it'd be a nice investment, get Sonic Forces. If you'd rather wait, I'd say wait. It's one of those games where I feel like it's really polarizing, but I do feel like the game has a lot of replayability despite its short length.
Sonic Forces in terms of presentation is actually pretty well done in my personal opinion, but it's not enough to save the fact that classic Sonic exists in this game. Jokes aside, let's get into this. First off, the graphics here are very nice and well utilized off of the Hedgehog Engine 2, which is the improved version of the Hedgehog engine, previously used in games such as Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, and even Sonic Unleashed. This engine allows for more graphical fidelity such as global illumination and much more. Sonic Forces on PC is the best looking version of the game by far. Right after that is the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the Nintendo Switch version of the game. The game runs at 720p 30 FPS. It's a trade-off for portability, but no other version of the game has that portability. In my personal opinion, I think the best way to play the game is the PC version. That said, a lot of people like the ability to play their games on the go, but at the price of 720p 30 FPS like I listed earlier. Now let's talk music. The music in this game is amazing. I wouldn't say it's the best in the series, but the game has some really decent tracks. Some of my favorites are the Supporting Me remix, Aqua Road, Mortar Cannon, and Sunset Heights. All amazing tracks. The music and sound design in this game is just great. Minus the classic Sonic music, it feels like Sonic 4 music. It's not a terrible trade-off, but it's worth mentioning. I haven't noticed really any bugs, but Shadicstick specifically has run into a bug where his custom character didn't load properly at all and loaded some random OC instead of his own. That being said, this game is pretty much glitch free for the most part. I know there's a few falling through stages here and there that I've seen on Twitter, but I haven't personally seen any glitches. The story of the game is presented pretty nicely and the voice acting for the game is pretty good. Kirk Thornton, who does the voice of Shadow, in my opinion, has really improved. I personally was not a fan of his voice direction of Shadow in the last few games, but with Kirk Thornton this time around, I genuinely liked it and felt like he was actually a legit Shadow speaking during the Shadow DLC story. I really enjoyed his performance. Now let's talk about this $40 price tag. Was it worth $40? I think yes. If the game were $60, I'd have to give a firm no. The game doesn't have enough content to suffice a $60 price tag, but I feel like this $40 price tag fit the game considering you can beat this in 3 to 4 hour sitting. That's how I feel in the presentation of the game. But when it does come down to the content that is in the game, this game has 3 different types of collectibles in each stage. You have your moon medals, you have your green circles, and you have your, of course, red medals. Now, you can only get all of these collectibles once you collect each item first. So your first time through the stage, you're going to have to get all the red medals, and then the second time, all the green rings, and then the third time, you can get the moon medals. They get harder each time. The red medals are more of a try to find it type of thing, and the green circles are a little easier to find, but you have to get them in a certain order. And then the moon medals are essentially all of them put together, but the moon medals are like the green circles in terms of you have to get them in a certain order but quickly, and you have to find them kind of like the red medals. This game also includes extra and secret stages within the game, and you unlock these by collecting red rings and the green circles and even the moon medals to unlock more of these extra and secret stages. Now these stages, they sound on paper like they'll be a full-fledged out stage, but it's really just a challenge stage with pretty bland level design, but some of them are actually challenging. That's the whole purpose of them, to be challenging. They're more of little mini challenge stages that will test your skill for Sonic and the custom hero. Now, one thing I think Sonic Team did a great job with is the custom hero creator. This hero creator is pretty cool because you get to choose from at least 8 different species of animals. And there's many different Wispons. There's at least 6 different types of Wispons. But these Wispons can be later obtained through stages with different perks on them, and then your Wispon's gonna have different perks such as a bubble shield, or you start out with 100 rings or stuff like that. And I think creating your OC is actually pretty fun. I was a little skeptical of it at first, but it was actually not that bad. So overall, I think the presentation of Sonic Forces was pretty decent. It had great graphics, it has great sound, the custom hero creator is really fun to use and it's kind of engaging, and there's different reasons to replay a level. With that all wrapped up, I think we can all come to the conclusion that Sonic Forces is a mediocre to decent game at best. Now, we all listed the things we liked and didn't like, and also a huge shout out to Bluekokirii and Shadicstick for covering these big topics, because I liked to get 3 different opinions on 3 different topics for this game, so we all have varying opinions, so you're not just hearing one-sided opinions from one dude. Sonic Forces was okay. It wasn't bad. I honestly feel like all of the reasons we listed why we enjoyed or even didn't enjoy parts of the game was pretty legitimate. That I think we came up with some pretty good reasons of why this game isn't that bad or why the game isn't amazing. Honestly, it's just right in the middle. I think majority of us here give it a 7 out of 10. But if we're gonna total up our score, we're gonna give this game a 21 out of 30. I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Sonic Forces. Me and my boys put some work into this review, so go check out Bluekokirii and Shadicstick. Links will be in the description below. They helped put some work into this. They were part of this video, so please support them. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And of course, if you enjoyed this and you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe and leave a like.